MOS stands for the Miles On-Site Service, and it's one of the differentiators of Miles Technologies that makes us incredible at what we do. There's a lot of different people involved, which is why this document and the process for MOS is so important. It's got to work like a well-oiled machine, and the only way that's possible is if we all follow the process to the T. Let's talk about who's involved with MOS and what specifically they do. So first is the RTO, and this is the remote task owner, a full-time team member who works out of a Miles Technologies location, who owns and does the remote portion of the work. This person is ultimately responsible for the successful completion of the task or the ticket. Next is the OTO, or the on-site task owner. This is the on-site person, the MOS consultant who's on-site, and it could be a full-time team member, a part-time team member, or even a contractor in some cases. Next is the CTO, not to be confused with Chief Technology Officer. This is the customer task owner. This is who we're doing the work for once we're on site. And then there's the CPC, or the customer primary contact. This is the person who we work with on a daily basis. They could also be the CTO, but sometimes we go out and do work for a user who's not our primary contact, but we still need to communicate with the CPC. One critical component in making sure MOS stays sharp is to ensure that there's an opportunity to provide feedback after every on-site task that we complete. And that feedback goes three ways. We want to get feedback from the RTO, of their opinion of how we did out there on site. We want to get feedback from the customer task owner, the CTO, of how they think it went when we were on site. And then we want to get the opinion and feedback of our on-site task owner, the person who did the on-site work. So at the completion of any on-site task, we'll be sending a survey out, 3 surveys out, to gather all this feedback. And this information will be used to show us what's going well and what's not going well and needs adjustment with our on-site task and our MOS team, as well as what we could do better as RTOs to make sure that our on-site, our MOS team is set up for success. So this is the on-site process. But before we dive in, let me cover 2 things. One, we have on-site standard appointment times, Miles standard appointment times. And these are subject to change in the future, but right now you can see them. They're broken down into morning sessions or afternoon sessions. And this is just to make it easier and more uniform from scheduling to execution of on-site work. Second thing to know, as of May 2019, our remote task owners need to have both Google Chat and Google Hangouts enabled on their devices, since Google Chat does not yet allow us to communicate with external parties, and chat and video chat is how we'll be communicating between our RTOs and our OTOs. The first step in the on-site process is to schedule it, and there's 3 types of on-sites that we're going to do. The first is an emergency on-site. You know what they are, and when you need to schedule that, you can confidently say this without knowing anything else. We're on our way. I'm going to have somebody on the road in the next hour. We'll follow up with confirmation of who's coming and when they're going to be there. That's it for emergency, and then you move on to the next step of the process. The next type of on-site is a non-emergency. So in these cases, what we're going to do is say to the customer, would you like us to come out tomorrow at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., or is 9 a.m. better? Or is there another time that's more convenient for you? And the way you're going to decide on the dates and times to offer to the customer is if it's the morning, if it's before noon today, I'm going to choose 2 of the times for tomorrow's morning standard times. You can see them up here, so 8 or 9 a.m. If it's 1 p.m. today and it's not an emergency, I'm going to say, how about tomorrow at 1 p.m. or is 2 p.m. better? And then if they ask for a specific date and time, or they want to choose 2 or 3 days from now, that's even better for us, okay? If the customer pushes back at all, then they think that it needs more urgent attention, you can always say this. Look, I'll send someone right now. This is an emergency, so we're on site today. You can say that. Again, this is all without confirming any schedules. This is what you can confidently communicate directly to the customer. And then for the last type of on-site, where there's a specific date and time request, we can absolutely be on-site at a specific date and time with 24 hours notice. But you don't even have to think about that. Listen to what the customer says and when they'd like us on-site, and you can respond confidently with just this. We should be able to accommodate that. Let me work with my team, and I'll confirm with you after. And then that's it. You've scheduled the on-site. Now time to move on to the next step in the process. Once it's scheduled, it's now time to duplicate the task and make the on-site task. And you can read through how to do this, and it includes sending it to your manager if you're in support or projects to get their approval of the on-site work. But the biggest thing for us to touch on in this video are the custom fields that you'll fill out in the on-site task. These are them, and these are subject to change as well. But what I'm going to hit on here will stay and remain constant, which is that this item here, these two items, what's been done so far and list all steps in detail, are of the utmost importance to be filled out with thoroughness. So what's been done so far, this can be a summarized explanation of what we've tried on the task. If it's a project, you can give a kind of like a commander's intent of what the project is aimed at getting done, specifically on site. And then list all steps to take once on site. This has to be detailed from the moment the person gets to the place where they're executing, the OTO is getting to the place where they're executing the on-site work. What's the very first thing that they should do in tons of detail? We're talking about shut the computer down, unplug all equipment, all wires, remove the case. That level of detail is what we're looking for here, and managers will be pushing back when that level of detail is not there. This is going to set up our OTOs for the optimal success. Once the custom fields are filled out and the manager has approved it and sent it over to HDS, HDS is going to find the OTO that's going to handle the work and then send a message out to the customer as well as the RTO, the OTO, about what's happening when it's happening. And this is the message. Basically, it's telling the customer, we're coming on site, here's when we're coming on site, here's where we're going, and then here's the person's name and their picture. Okay, and then this message will be forwarded to our OTO explaining the same information. And one other point on the custom fields is that for your OTOs, there's a wireless SSID and passphrase in those custom fields in the task so that you can prepare to be on wireless even before you walk into the building. Okay, OTOs, you're up. This is the second step of the on-site process, which is actually executing the work or performing the work. All right, so the first thing is if you're going to be late, okay, safely reply all to the message that our HDS team, most likely Liz, sent to you, and let them know what your ETA is. From there, they'll handle it, communicating with the client and making sure everyone's aware so that you can focus on just getting to the client. But make sure you communicate that well in advance, okay? So step one of performing the work is before you even start to head out there and making sure you have all the needed equipment, all the needed tools, and you're 100% clear on what you have to do. If you have to ask questions, ask them before as much as possible. Try not to ask the moment you walk in. That means we didn't follow step one, which is being prepared. And also make sure that you're dressed for success, that you are in business casual dress, okay? Step two is arrival. And before you walk into the building, or while you're walking into the building, have Google Hangouts or Google Chat open and send a message to the RTO, okay? Send a message that says, I'm on site and I'm walking into the customer location. That way they know that you're there, they're on time and getting ready to go in. Then you're getting started, okay? So you're going to walk into the building, you're going to walk up to the receptionist or the front desk, and you're going to ask for the CTO. But don't say CTO to them because they don't know what that means. You're going to ask for the customer task owner by name. Hi, is Susan Smith here or is John Doe here? Okay? And then ask to be shown to the location of the on-site request or where you need to go, or if the instructions tell you to ask for something different. Okay? And then once you get to the place where we're actually performing the on-site work, send the chat one of these two chat messages to the RTO. I am getting started. Or I'm getting started and I have a few questions. And if you have the few questions, the RTO will reach out to you via video to go over it with you. Next up is the work. And this is it looks small on paper, but this is the biggest piece of what we're doing. Here you want to follow exactly what was written in the detailed steps in the task. Do that specifically, okay? And the RTO's responsibility here is to reach out to you every 30 minutes via video on Google Chat or Google Hangouts to check in and see how things are going and answer any questions that you have. If you have a need before that 30-minute interval, you can certainly send a chat message over Google Chat or Google Hangouts, okay? Every time the RTO does that reach out, they'll put a note in the on-site task so this can be tracked and logged. Okay, that's executing the work. And one thing that you have to make sure you do is go through our video training series, which is down here, which talks about how to answer some of the questions that will inevitably come up from the customers while you're on site, how to answer them with perfection without even knowing what the answers are to their actual questions. The last step is to finish strong. Let's finish strong, okay? So the OTO, what you're going to do is you're going to reach out via video chat to the RTO, okay, when you're all done. And this happens before you tell the customer you're done. You're reaching out to the RTO. And together over video, you both will confirm that things look good. And then from there, you're going to review with the customer task owner, the CTO, and the RTO. So you'll have the RTO on video on your phone, the RTO, and you will both say everything looks good. And then you'll go, hi, Susan. I have the remote task owner, Jim, on with me, and I'd like to review the completed work to make sure that everything is working as it should. Or if that isn't appropriate for the moment, everything's working as it should. We've both confirmed, do you need anything else at this time? And that's perfect. And the customer will say, everything's good, thank you so much, or you'll head out. And then before you leave, we're going to close the task and update the task completion checklist. The task completion checklist asks 4 questions. Confirm that you had the review with the RTO, then confirm that you had the review with the customer task owner and the RTO, and make sure the work environment that you worked in is left in a neat and orderly manner, and confirm that this task completion checklist has been filled out and the task is marked done. And then mark the task done prior to departing the customer site. This will let our help desk services team know that you're complete, that you're done, and you're on your way back or you're heading home, and that you can possibly even take another task. So that's it for this video. Make sure to review the rest of this document. If you're an OTO, definitely go through everything under the training session. Special attention to the video training series, as it really will help set you up for success. Thank you to everyone who's watching this video, who's involved with our MOS team. We are a global IT services firm. We're growing, and everybody's a part of that, from full-time RTOs, full-time OTOs, part-time OTOs, and the opportunity is huge for us in the future for all involved. We'll be expanding our full-time positions across this nation and at some point soon across the world. So we're really excited, in this process and our execution of the process by the very talented team members watching this video is going to enable us to do just that. Thank you so much.